Amul never used Times of India. Happened to go to sales office was different, so I went there. I said, "What is happening in the conference room? And whom you are meeting?" "Well, the managing director." I said, "I'll come." I looked at the presentation. I said, "I'll make the presentation." Sales team presentation was that how they're wasting money in television. I said, "You can't question the wisdom of a client. Your television campaigns are fantastic." So I praised them. But there's some pockets of market might be left out. So I used TGI, Target Group Index. He looked, "How much will it cost?" I said, "I don't know." "Now, how will I know your cost?" I said, "You decide." "No, you know your marketing budget." After 5 days, they've confirmed a 5 crore business. Imagine I'm planning in an incumbent body, which is Times of India Group, a separate team, thinking that Mirror stands alone. First handle Mumbai Mirror, then we'll see. So we've taken Times of India price very high and then kept it here. So Mirror becomes compulsory.
Okay, so you raised the Times of India pricing, and so Mirror became at this level, and HT and DNA were at the same level, and they sort of...
No, then they came down to Mirror's level, introduced first speaking newspaper. In fact, the competitors were wondering how come this remained secret. Office may only 3 people knew. We got the supplier, vendor, did it. And it was a mammoth task because paper was shaking. So 72 hours before Bombay Times was printed. I can give you thousands of examples of innovation. And this happened because of the fact that we empowered the team. I always say the new competitive advantage is which organization has maximum market share of empowerment. My brief to the editor was, "Who is your competition?" I said, "Times of India." He said, "Are you crazy?" I said, "Yes." Okay. I said, "You can never fight because they have got a lot more journalists. Pick up 2-3 areas that you will be the best. It should be the same editorial team." I said, "No way. There should be internal competition." So Mirror was placed in a different place where Times of India people were never allowed entry.
And the sales team was the same or was different teams?
I created a dedicated team. Once you know the product, once you know the customer, confidence comes automatically. I've never studied in English medium. And with that, I've gone to Harvard and MIT. I simulated this thing that how I can enter into the soul of the CMO, understand his pains. I always used to look outside in and not inside out.
You are selling your ideas to your friend, your wife, your parents.
You sold it to me that I should come for the podcast. I said, "I don't think I'm a salesman." He said, "Then who are you? What are you?" I said, "I'm a storyteller. I am an anthropologist. I look at my own standard. But I change by depending on who is on the opposite side."
What do you think makes a good salesperson? Can sales be taught or is it inborn?
Sales skills are born is very biggest bullshit.
Okay.
Everything can be learned. As they say, no, it's not the dog in the fight, it's the fight in the dog. So do you have the fire in the belly? Or these days health considerations are not there, fire in the pot belly. So I said that it has to be learned. I talked about growth mindset. They have a fixed mindset, "Sir, last 5 years we are growing at 10%. Why suddenly you have taken 30% growth?" I said, "How can you look at past? Past has no future. After 2-3 years or 5 years, how the world will look like? In that world, how do I fit in? Both as an individual as well as a corporation." Look forward and then walk back.
And then sort of take it back.
Isn't it so? Unless you say that you can drive very well by looking at rear view mirror.
Correct.
Because future is so unpredictable. And media is the most volatile industry. Continuously. And people say technology is disrupting. I say technology never disrupts. It's the consumer who disrupts because their culture changes. Consumer knows what is good for them. But do you understand? Do you listen to them?
Today's guest is Dr. Bhaskar Das. Bhaskar is a media veteran with more than 40 years of experience in various organizations. He spent a large part of his time in the Times of India Group, then as a CEO of Z Media Group and various other organizations. So let's begin our conversation with Dr. Bhaskar Das. Hi Bhaskar, welcome to Sellside Conversations. It's a pleasure having you here. You've had such an illustrious career in the media industry for over 40 years. You've been the president of the Times of India Group, the group CEO at the Z Media and various other organizations. So today we will just cover a wide range of topics from revenue management, team building, motivation, culture, management, a whole gamut of things. So that's the whole idea today. So let's sort of deep dive into it. During your tenure as the president of the Times of India Group, the revenue grew from 1,500 crore to a few multi times that in a 6 to 7 year period. So that's a fascinating sort of growth trajectory over there. Can you sort of walk us through the things that you and your team implemented in terms of strategy, planning, execution? Also sort of give us an idea about the industry as it existed then?
See, I must admit that the growth that we experienced during my 6 years as a president, and of course before that I was in this same company, of course, and came up from ranks to the senior most position. See, it was a collective effort of of my colleagues. Market was also friendly, and of course the freedom that the shareholders, principal shareholders, have given to us. So that is the first part. Second part, people underestimate the role of luck. So
Okay, yeah, luck is important.
I think in my case, luck also favored. But yes, I always say that victory loves preparation. We made a lot of preparation continuously. Sometimes it has worked, sometimes it has not worked. But no one could tell us that we did not try. So what happened is that, the Times of India group has fantastic brands. So that was a huge, I would say, gate opener for any partner. But what we did differently was that we realized that has been changing continuously. New media has been coming. So imagine when I joined in 1980, and by the time I took over at the corner room, digital has entered into the fray, radio, television, terrestrial television as well as satellite. So obviously there has been tremendous fragmentation of media, fragmentation of attention. There is intercategory migration of cash, intercategory migration of attention. Obviously when attention gets migrated, cash also gets migrated. So budget doesn't expand so much. So we realize that something that we have to migrate from just selling space or selling response is to ensure that how to make your partners in the value chain successful. And in the value chain, you have advertisers, definitely that's the supply side of the business, but there is also demand side, which is the readers at that point of time. So we started teaching the sales colleagues that, you have to understand both the advertisers side of the story, but the story is not complete because they are also serving our readers. They are also their customer. So how you have to know not only your primary customer, you have to know your customer's customer.
Okay.
In this case, readers. This is true for any media, incidentally. That has created the magic. So you created both demand side and supply side of the business and migrate from mere selling of space to knowledge-based solution selling. So you are empathetic towards the CMO's requirement to increase. What is CMO's requirement? Brand salience and how to increase sales. Come to think of it, those are the brass tacks.
Those are two main things, objectives.
And then you understand what the reader has been looking at. They want to solve problems. So you have to create a contextual environment that editorial has done anyway. We created customized content, which in digital language they call it native content. We also increased our connection with the principal advertiser rather than going only through the agencies because they are also in the value chain. As a result, what has happened, our proximity to the client went up. We have got more knowledge of the customer. And we have also used to do a lot of homework about how to know my primary customer's requirement from secondary sources, of course. And those days it was easier to get it. Google was already in the scene. And then you have, of course, various publications, business publications, you come to know about it. So we should do our homework. Understand the consumer's behavior, how it is changing. So remember, consumer behavior actually doesn't change. What changes is the context. And in the consumer scheme of things, there's so many consumers. So you have to see them in various shades. So if you are seeing Gen Y, Millennium, Gen X, baby boomers, everyone is there. But you can't paint everyone with the same brush. So you used to create also various platforms for different types of audience and different kinds of customized pricing to ensure that the price perception changes to increasing continuously the value proposition. So that was the basic approach.
But sort of, if I were to drill it down to more specific things, because you had a multifold sort of growth from 1,500 crores to a few thousand crores. Now that's a sort of a big leap that happens over there. Now, for the sake of our audience, can you just give an example of a category that sort of grew from X to Y? Uh, from my own personal experience, Times of India had a huge presence in the in the real estate category. I would see a lot of real estate. So, some of the tactics that were sort of involved over there, it could be brand capital helping it, or how do you sort of go about? If you can give for our audience one specific category that grew multifold.
It was not one category, but we simultaneously penetrated every category as if that is the only SBO. So classified might not have value growth, but they have got huge volume growth, which automatically leads to value growth. It has its own advantage in terms of covering the market. The real growth happened through a combination of price performance ratio of various categories. Recruitment at that time was pretty strong. It was more than 350 crore. Then you have automobile. You are right, retail, real estate, education. These are the top 6 categories which have actually made a lot of difference. But every category, of course, we have to have a de-average strategy. You can't, what you do for education is true for display.
Correct.
Or tender, for instance. So real estate went up to 600 crores because that time stock market were growing, so that money was coming to the real estate. So we have done. Brand capital came, it created a different kind of capability for the organization where we helped cash-strapped startups or companies where we have made arrangements for certain amount to be paid by cash balance for equity participation or for that matter debentures or whatever it is. That has ensured that more category expansion can take place, but their contribution was not significant in the overall scheme of things because we have one more category I must mention is FMCG. FMCG is very price sensitive, so we created different price structure for them. Your luxury products, beauty, tremendous growth from zero more or less. Our business expanded. So I think it's a combination of all categories, but if you rank them, I think it will be display, real estate, retail was also a very volume business, education, and tender notices. They have really grown because of the market penetration.
Good. And in this phase, how do you sort of manage the process? Because there is the strategy in place, but the process in terms of teams, in terms of the other ecosystems, how do you sort of keep your large sales force motivated and sort of and still maintain the market leadership? Can you just sort of
the question has multiple segments, but let me talk about process that you are talking about. See, process, I first of all changed since I realized that knowledge-based solution selling. I created a verticalization. So there will be an all India head of tender or all India head of automobile. I realized that previously it was by categories of advertising. I said, no, that's not the way to do it. We created a certain that if we have to move towards knowledge-based solution selling, help the primary customer, in this case advertiser, and also to understand the consumer, you have to be really deep dive into each category and combine best practices across the country. So what is true for Lucknow may not be true for, say, for instance, Bombay. So we categorize market by competitive position and competitive position that in that market we have for various brands and market attractiveness. So say, for instance, Bombay is high in market attractiveness and competitive position. Delhi, good market attractiveness, competitive position was equal to the Hindustan Times. Ahmedabad, good market, but competitive position was weak compared to, but in English space, yes, but their Gujarati papers, language papers were doing well. So imagine every market, we have mapped our strategy. So there's no one strategy. There's a de-average strategy by market, by brand, and by occasion, and of course by location. So these are the 4 areas that we customized so there's nothing like paint everything with one brush. So I think that de-average strategy has really helped a lot.
Got you. Because some of the things, the processes, that market leadership still maintains. So that is
the other process that I should have mentioned it. The other process that I must say is that the back end processes, so that the customer has least friction, which is operational part in terms of scheduling, in terms of billing, recovery. They were all in place. We just ensured that when the size expanded, or back end support system also, because ultimately, in terms of moments of truth, increasingly it was nano moments of truth for the advertiser as well as the reader. So while this editorial have ensured the nano moment of truth, we have studied in our management class the 3 moments of truth, but it is now nano moment. Everyone has a voice. Customer activism has started by then, though it was initial stages, but now it is much more. And so that your editorial team has done the reader part of it. Circulation has done the reader part of it. We did in the advertising space, the response, as we call it, or you call it. So there it is about not only agencies but clients also. The moments of truth that our service has to be flawless, because service is not a function of resources. Service is also a function of passion.
correct.
So that's what I injected in the team. The regular training processes. We have got monthly training programs, weekly training programs for various sets of colleagues, regular interaction with the clients, and we have celebrated their success. So that we have done. So it's a multifold strategy
Got
to ensure that the sales process, sales machinery remains well-oiled and proactive.
Taking a cue from what you just said about the knowledge part, that it's about imparting knowledge to your customers. Media industry generally, there's a saying that you're selling eyeballs. Huh? So when you're selling eyeballs, and especially in a digital world, what do you think is the role of the platform in today's context? Because everybody's sort of the eyeballs are getting distributed, the attention span is getting distributed across multiple screens, multiple different channels. So the question is, how should somebody look at the media sales opportunity right now, in terms of monetization, in terms of sort of growth?
See, there are challenges that have come up. See, say for instance, you are now operating, your ecosystem is omni-channel. Your readers or your customers, I'm talking about the demand side, they are omni-channel. So advertiser automatically has to follow them wherever they are there. So that is also omni-channel. So budget gets continuously reconfigured, redistributed. The important part is not eyeballs anymore, to my mind. One of the reasons is, of course, very rare cases that you have third-party data. So if you look at it, newspapers have no readership. Radio has no listenership. In case of digital, everything is Google and Facebook. It's a duopoly. Everyone is coming and giving their numbers. No one believes in them. Whatever little bit is ComScore. So 85% is taken away by 2 companies, which is Alphabet and Meta. So today, any salesperson, if he thinks that my medium is the only medium that advertiser is going to take, is the biggest mistake. How do you survive or thrive in a complementary environment? How do you think complementary as opposed to substitutive? So you cannot think. So you have to think horizontally, act vertically. So you said, how do I complement the other media reach? The uniqueness. Now, if there is database, and there is, current industry database is also, no database is talking to each other. The controversies about BARC. Controversies about IRS. So that is a big challenge for the advertisers, and quite often CMOs get influenced by, if I don't say, it doesn't exist. With due apologies to all of them. I'm not talking about the younger tribe. I like Times of India advertisement. It makes a difference. Even if the newspaper share has come down, but Times of India or the market leaders have some top of the mind recall. But what is that age group? Is post-90 born reading newspaper? I don't know. I still read it. I find value in it. So your eyeballs, I think what is more important is engagement. Are you engaged with the platform? People come to platform when there is engagement, then there is immersion in the communication that the advertiser wants to make. If consumers or the audience is not engaged, no amount of eyeballs can help.
But
And the eyeballs can be, with due apologies again, it can be fudged.
yeah, that is there. But a lot of times, advertisers or CMOs, because today we live in a world of instant results. So, and especially with digital channels coming in the last 2 decades, everything has become performance. Everything is sort of the last mile attribution. Now, when you talk about immersion, you talk about the engagement. Some of these channels don't offer it. Now, and the landscape is changing because today CMO is also responsible for delivering tangible results where his role is impacting the bottom line. And such time, CMOs are also cutting corners, saying, "Nahi, yaar, I don't want engagement. Let's figure out how do I hit the sales funnel, so to say."
Now, I know that performance marketing. You're finished. Sorry.
Yeah.
Performance marketing is the currency. I know that, and in their pursuit of performance marketing, brand building is not even looked into it. So everyone is playing it. So suppose there's a big Republic Day sale, or for that matter, Diwali sales. Is there any loyalty towards Amazon or Flipkart? Whoever is giving maximum discount, people shift. Geo. So it is very important. How do you build brand now? Overnight, brands are getting dislodged from their place. Now, and COVID has proved that brand loyalty is so important. So you just can't be a fly-by-night operator. A lot of people say that Gen Zs are not bothered about brands, but they are very conscious about brands, that how they affect my life, how they affect my ecosystem, environment. It's a short-term game to my mind. Performance marketing, no one is questioning it. But if you have to create certain amount of loyalty to the brand, you need to build brand and also do performance marketing. Obviously, you cannot say now 50% of my advertising is wasted. I don't know which 50%. Today it can be measured. But for that, data is required. And data of different media delivery formats need to talk to each other. That data is not there. So knowledge-based selling can happen only on the basis of secondary knowledge that you have, that you are gathering. But obviously, CMO will look for a result because his boss is asking for result.
Absolutely.
But then why so many brand launches are getting flopped?
So the onus is also on the publisher side, the media owner side, to sort of be in sync with technology, to develop systems so that they are able to proactively give their advertisers or the marketing community data about their readers or whatever. So it could
When
be
you say publisher, what do you mean? Are you talking about newspaper, or you are talking about any media house?
any media house for that matter. Publisher, it could be print, it could be digital, radio. So everybody sort of has to have authentic data about their audience.
Very operative word. You said authentic, which is credible. Tell me, where is the data? For most of the media thing, Google has some data at least.
Yeah.
Or so is Meta, for that matter. There are also people are talking about fudging happening in various places, legal litigation happening, monopoly restricted practices. Where is data? Data and different formats data, they don't talk to each other. How will you do an intercategory comparison of ultimately reach and ODS? Your engagement. Where do you know it? So currently, to my mind, everyone talks about data. Data is the new oil. But I find in the media space, there's a lot of data darkness.
Can you be more specific about data darkness that you say?
As I told you, that newspaper, they don't have.
Yeah, they don't have.
Radio don't have. Television is under controversy. And this free-to-air channel, they are saying I'm number one. Star, Z, Sony, everyone is number one. News channels, you see 410 news channels, 410 plus. You look at, people are saying that everyone is saying the same thing, shouting, toxic environment. Advertisers need an environment which is celebratory. So I have a feeling, when I say data darkness is not complete darkness, here and there people are coming with data, but first party data no one believes. But where is the third party data? That's the big challenge. You have seen the Bark was one of the largest one, and that is where it got merged into such controversy.
But in a digital world, the big guns, Google and Meta and all of those people have reams of data about their audience on their platform, and that is what they're able to show to advertisers and get
And
a
they get
lion's
results also,
share.
no?
They get results.
Because you're capturing the data.
Correct.
How do a newspaper readership will capture? How do listenership will capture?
So there has to be a better mechanism.
It is robust. The industry has to agree, and industry is not united. People are saying, people are giving false figures of influencers. You know that, tracking.
Correct, yeah.
Then you have followers. I can get you followers. So, in fact, digital world has a lot of transparency. But to my mind, that transparency has become its biggest weakness in terms of controlling perceived value pricing. They can do direct pricing, as many hits, as many click-throughs. But I think that doesn't help in brand building. Because that also can be managed. You know it better
Correct,
than
yeah.
me.
Yeah, that also can manage. Absolutely. Okay, so moving on, Bhaskar.
Otherwise, just one more point
Sure.
I may add.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all brands would have been successful. Just go to Google and Meta and make it a success. That's it. Why it doesn't happen? Brand loyalty is important.
Correct. So, Bhaskar, moving on, let's say, and we'll be a little focus on the revenue management part. Now, just imagine if there is a 40-something CRO and he's trying to launch his, or rather grow his business, and assuming it's today's world where digital is the mainstay, and it's got a long runway ahead of it, and 40-something CRO tries to sort of now make a plan next 5 years. How do I grow my business from X to 5X?
Which brand you are talking about?
Let's say hypothetical digital brand. What are the 2 or 3 things you would advise him as a to the CRO, that in the next 4-5 years, how does he grow multifold? Because you've been the person who's grown your business multifold. So what advice would you give to a CRO in today's day, in 2024? How can he grow his business multifold? Assuming the tailwind is with him, the brand is popular. So let's take a hypothetical brand. The brand is popular and he wants to grow 5-fold or multifold. What are the things as a CRO you would sort of advise
it cannot
him?
be a formula, but I can tell you that you can't compare with when I did it, because that time pricing was opaque. There is a type of market dominance. Because in case of newspapers, it is a passive medium but active audience, as opposed to television, which is an active medium, passive audience. Difference is who can do multitasking. Technically, multitasking is a great idea, but you are also distracted. Newspaper, either you read it or you don't read it, unless you want to hide your face from someone, or you are trying to save yourself from rains or packing your shoes. So if you look at it, that so you can't compare. Digital is completely transparent. I mentioned that transparency is the biggest weakness. But it is not about, a lot of people say that, since I'm academically and deeply involved, marketing, they call it digital marketing. I say, what is digital marketing? Then they should print marketing, television marketing. I said, marketing in the digital age. So it is not about medium. Obviously, medium has to be taken into account. But it is about even their brand. So first you have to know which market you are operating, who is your customer, and how do I serve their need. So Amazon is enough. You don't have to go to any other site.
But more specifically from a media point of view now, if you are a media owner and you're selling your media to advertisers and the marketing community, what are 2 or 3 things that you should keep in mind if you want to grow your business multifold? Now, you said know your customer, or sort of have. Can you be more specific? Know your customer means what? Let's say for a media house, the customer is the end client or the agency. So, should you sort of be in cahoots with them or know them on a first name basis? Yeah,
those are outdated.
Yeah. So, what are the things that we will sort of take move the needle for?
See, at our time, a lot of people say you dine, drink, you'll get business. Those days are over, because money doesn't grow in trees. See, by sector it differs. No, you must understand that. So you look at Tata Motors, after EV, they have come up even ahead of Maruti, who has 52% market share. So you cannot have monopoly on certain things. I give you a generic principle, but yes, know your customer, everyone in the value chain. So you not only just about agency. Before agency, you have to know the principal buyer, which is in this case the advertiser. Parallelly this will run. Also, you have to know your customer, which means segment you are operating. That whom I am catering to. their demographic profile, their psychographic profile, ethnographic profile, whatever, and that those data is possible to get. If the concerned company is not doing it, you cannot get proper mileage of pricing, because you cannot thrive on opaque pricing. Newspapers, radio, everything is opaque pricing. It is opaque because data is not there. Even data is there, it is one to many. Digital is one to one.
Correct. That's the difference.
So everything can be measured. You can fudge or whatever, but fact remains everything can be measured. So, but brand building principles don't change. You have to cater to your customer, in this case marketing guy or the company, have to cater to their audience, both primary as well as adjacent. There. So in an age of individualization, you look at today OTTs. Everyone have to ultimately, because individual is very powerful now. One individual can take on a corporation, you know that.
Correct, yeah.
You have seen Indigo, you have seen other airlines.
The power is with the individual through social media.
Because they're active. And today you do not know whether you know where is the enemy. Because when there is activism, it may not be genuine also. It can be competitor.
Yeah.
It can be Mera Bharat Mahan.
Correct.
So many people
there
can.
are multiple agendas at play.
So you do not know. This is really, they call it post-truth world. You do not know which one is genuine. So that is where social listening is very important. And in social listening, you understand what customers' views are changing. And I did one of the PhDs in social listening. I've seen how companies like ITC, Nestle, Airtel, they're attending to some of the key issues for product development. So that is, today you can really know what your customer wants. But are you engaged with them? Digital has no excuse of not engaging with them. Google must have understood it, or Alphabet must have understood it long back. But today suddenly TikTok comes. Suddenly ChatGPT comes. So Microsoft suddenly has become powerful. Because
Correct.
they've invested big time, but the biggest amount they've invested. With ChatGPT, will that be a search engine? You do not know. 95% of Google revenue is on, but they are also actively promoting now and investing in research. Fact remains that consumer loyalty is fragile. I call it only 5 seconds of patience. Once upon a time Andy Warhol talked about 15 minutes of fame. Then it became 5 minutes. Now people have no time.
Literally 5 seconds.
There route. Okay. So they have understood. They means in this case consumers of any medium have understood they're in the driver's seat. So you look at Netflix. Netflix, to my mind, have changed their strategy. They were not investing in content. Now they're investing. Suddenly they're one of the, I think, the only company which is making money now. Which actually Amazon Prime was investing, regional films, other things. So what is happening? But Hotstar could not do it because it needs money. The production costs are going up. Digital, whoever is the people who are working, they also get more salary. Your cost is going up. Your revenue is not going.
It's not keeping up with it. Correct. Absolutely.
So it's a combination of pricing also have changed. We always thought that we are in advertising business. Now, to my mind, everything is content and technology and context, of course. So, in terms of content pricing, which is SVOD, and you have to attract talent, otherwise you will not get quality because there are too many parity competition. And there is AVOD. So, any business model that is over dependent on AVOD, which is actually radio and news channels, and of course newspapers, over dependence. Anything above 50%, my personal prediction, where your dependence is on AVOD, to my mind, future is bleak.
Future is bleak. For the benefit of our audience, can you give a specific example where a particular category grew multifold? For us to understand it better.
There are many examples because, again, I always talk about de-averaging strategy. So what we did for a typical display category is not true for education or real estate. So real estate, let me take. See, then in real estate, we approach as if that is our brand. So one is normal flow that comes as part of media planning. And the other part is that how do we connect with the various stakeholders in the real estate category, like CREDI, like various industry associations. We contacted with them. They talked about a dedicated publication that is required for Times, for property division. So we created Times Property. Times Property as a standalone became close to 150, 175 crore. Though
Wow.
the normal advertising as per media planning that was coming, that was big enough. Same thing with automobile. We have created an auto publication once a week. We created an auto awards. In Economic Times, brand equity, we did at least 15, 20 different events around marketing, advertising, branding under brand equity's banner. So what has happened? We have typical growth, ignorance of growth strategy. I go for market development. I go for product development. I go for new market, both geography as well as consumer. Then each one I nurture as an individual property. What happens then that each one gets revenue gets accelerated. So overall it makes an impact. Then we have also done different, because continuous circulation and editorial efforts goes on. And so suppose Bangalore edition became number one. When it was a number 4 and number 1, strategy is very different. TY Delhi became number 1. The strategy became different. Not only about pricing, it's about market penetration. We work with in case of display, we work with the dealers so that they recommend our publication in Gujarat market to their head office.
Oh.
Because there is cooperative advertising happens with the dealers. So we have taken into account, which I mentioned once here. That
And dealers,
that
dealers would be resellers, or dealers would be
dealers, say for instance, automobile dealers.
Okay, automobile dealers. Okay.
We have even spoken to the brokers in case of real estate. We have played sometime margin game, sometime we have get volume game. Volume game we played in classified to get more and more. So we created, expanded, developed the product of matrimonial. So different categorizations, so parametric search becomes possible. Then we have done programs around matrimonial. We have done programs in Ascent or our appointments category, separate publication for Ascent, their content, then HR award, best place to work. So we have done a lot of things for the industry, for not only propitiating them, but also to develop the industry. So that when the industry gets developed, the salience of my brand goes up, that I'm staying their life in a very unique way. Another big example of 200 crore is when you launch Mumbai Mirror. Imagine in the same market we are launching a second paper. We had done it in 2005 when there was a solid competitive onslaught was coming from HT and Z and Dainik Bhaskar group in the form of DNA.
Okay, that's interesting.
And the challenge was that they have taken out, both from editorial and advertising, at least 100 people.
Okay.
And the interesting part, my boss joined them, so I took the helm. So there was
Oh, really? Okay.
Then I realized that it's impossible to fight with, and they have deep pockets, both Subhash Chandra and Dainik Bhaskar group. So one major attitudinal change I told to my team. So they are in offensive. They are the insurgent. Let us act as insurgent. Imagine I'm planning in an incumbent body, which is Times of India Group, an insurgent mind. A separate team thinking that Mirror stands alone. I wanted a paper and persuaded the shareholders that, you can't send a huge INS Vikrant type warship to combat competition always. I need a frigate.
Okay, that's interesting.
That you first handle Mumbai Mirror, then we'll see. So you've taken Times of India price very high and then kept it here. So Mirror becomes compulsory. And Mirror started fighting with HT and DNA.
Okay, so you raised the Times of India pricing, and so Mirror became at this level, and HT and DNA were at the same level, and they sort of...
No, then they came down to Mirror's level.
Okay.
And now, as I told you, passive medium, active audience. So either you read or you don't read. Now, there, Times of India cannot be excluded from Bombay market. So whatever extra money is left, I have taken from Mirror, because whatever comes in Times of India has to come in Mirror also.
Oh, okay.
So people might say that I will not take Mirror. Well, fine, but rate will be same.
So, in a way, did you bulldoze the?
I won't say bulldoze, but this is pricing strategy. See, even
But oftentimes people get scared of raising the prices, especially in a services
Oh.
business or a media business.
you have to have confidence. I know it depends on the market and the product category. Confidence on the brand. If you have no pride in the brand, you can't do it.
How do you translate the pride down the chain, rank and file?
See,
How do-
pride is a function of knowledge. Pride is a function of preparation. I have always used to tell my colleagues, and I cannot talk about myself as a narcissist, watch me when I talk to the clients. They said that why the same client who has said no to me say yes to you? I said because you want his advertising business, I want to make him successful.
Yeah, that's the mindset. So you want
Mindset change, exactly.
Absolutely.
Then I talked about growth mindset. They have a fixed mindset, sir. So last 5 years we are growing at 10%. Why suddenly you have taken 30% growth? I said, how can you look at past? Past has no future. I have studied forecasting, time series analysis. When MBMA this was taught. Today you have to do future backward strategy. So I'll see that after 2-3 years or 5 years, how the world will look like. In that world, how do I fit in? Both as an individual as well as a corporation. So if you look at it, consumer.
So you look forward and then try to
look forward and then walk back.
and then sort of take it back.
Isn't it so? Unless you say that you can drive very well by looking at rear view mirror. I've studied. How can you do it? Look at it. So that's why if you look at it, a lot of people make this mistake. They extrapolate. You can't extrapolate past to future.
Correct.
Because future is so unpredictable now. Media is the most volatile industry. Continuously. And people say technology is disrupting. I say technology never disrupts. It's the consumer who disrupts because their culture changes.
Absolutely.
So if you look at it, it's not about technology. Technology only facilitates better consumer experience. If you don't understand that and try to give in your media vehicle anything that you think is good for the consumer knows what is good for them. But do you understand? Do you listen to them? And usually corporates are hard of hearing. Huh? They cannot.
Very true.
They cannot listen. So listening is deep listening when you have don't bring your bias. People will say, I've got 20 years experience. I know this has to work. How do you know? That's why I always say my biggest strength is my ignorance. I don't know anything. I always start as the first day.
But you have the humility to say that I don't know.
No.
Oftentimes leaders do not have the humility to say they want to be, I know it all.
I don't think it's humility. This is practical. I'm very scared of experienced people, knowledgeable people. Because knowledge is a roadblock to learning. Today marketplace has become such that you learn more by observing and listening as opposed to reading only. Or your experience. Experience is the most... See, one COVID has proved and upended all assumptions about doing business.
Very true.
I personally feel, though I've got 42 years experience, I say 40 years have been wasted. It's only 2 years now because I have learned much more in those 2 years as opposed to what I learned in 40 years. So you have to continuously unlearn, relearn and upskill yourself, not just reskilling your capabilities. So markets have to be studied by product, by geographical market, by consumer psychographic, demographic profile, then only. So when you ask me a question, how do you feel pride? Pride comes from the knowledge that my brand is unique, serving uniquely a differentiated product for achieving. So I understood that, taught my colleagues, led by example, and because I always used to go to clients who say no. I said, you don't take me to clients.
You give a fascinating example of a client who said no and you were able to sort of convince him.
Yeah. Many of them. Amul never used Times of India.
Really? Okay.
Then you have Religare.
So how did you convince Amul, it's the biggest brand in India,
I can
to
tell
sort
you.
of...
it was a coincidence that I Happened to go to sales office was different, so I went there. I said, "What is happening in the conference room?" They said that we have a meeting with Amul. And whom you are meeting? With the managing director. I said, "I'll come." So what is the presentation? I looked at the presentation. I said, "It's garbage. I'll make the presentation now." Well, but if you come, then the agency have to come also, agency managing director. I said, "That is up to them." I said, "I'll make the presentation. No one will talk about pricing." The sales team presentation was that how they're wasting money in television. I said, "You can't question the wisdom of a client." So I started with, I have taken facts also, but I was not depending on facts. I first started that you are doing a fantastic job with the test of India. Your television campaigns are fantastic. So I praised them. Okay. Then I said, but there's some pockets of market might be left out. So I used TGI, Target Group Index, which IRS used to give. I studied that. Target Group indexing is about psychographies. It is about occupation and education, not necessarily income. So target group indexing, there are various habits, psychographic habits. So I said, this is the market, you have the choice not to do it, but in case you want to increase your business, maybe it will be useful. Which is not catered to because TGI in case of television was not there then. He looked at his CMOs and CEOs. He said, "How come I don't know about this?" So everyone was silent. I said, "No worries, it happens." He said, "Okay, then can you give some ideas how you are going to help us in a complementary way as you are saying?" So I gave some example because I was ready with that. He said, "How much will I?" And this is exact conversation, Gautam. "How much will it cost?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "How will I know your cost?" I said, "You decide. No, you know your marketing budget. If you think it's 1 rupee value, it's 1 rupee. If I can manage in 1 rupee, fine. Otherwise, I'll have a cup of tea and I have the bragging right of that I know the managing director of Amul." He said, "You won't say?" I said, "No."
So you refused to give him the pricing at that point of time?
I said, "Let him decide the price."
Okay.
Came back after 5 days. They've confirmed a 5 crore business.
It's wonderful.
Same thing had happened in case of Madura Garments.
So this is a classic case of rejection turning into
the same thing.
Acceptance.
Same thing in Madura Garments. They were a 5 crore advertiser. The agency changed hand from Lodestar to Group M. And Group M promised suo moto that we'll get you 25% inflation and no market share clause. Times of India used to ask for market share, then only discuss discounting prices as part of negotiation. So I told my team, forget it. And as told by Lodestar, you can't now suddenly agree to reduction of rates and all that. I said, yeah, obviously, how can? So all advertisements started going to HT and DNA. We had 0. After 3 months, I thought I must go and meet because that suddenly solid volume was going away. So I went, met the managing director, the CEO of Madura Garments, cup of tea and coffee, Times of India, some brand presence. So no one was discussing business. And I understand you're upset. They said, no, sir, actually, Times is too rigid, and I understand. So, see, then the CEO went up and started writing on the board that, look at the deal I've received from HTDNA. So I got up and erased it. I said, you're getting good deal, no worries, no? Please take it. I'm having tea, so I'm so happy. I'll go back to Bombay. So he said, no, I want to do business. What is it? So tell me what you want. We want this. Not possible. I said, you reply to 3-4 questions. So I went and wrote the questions on the air.
So actually a whiteboard that you were writing questions on the whiteboard? Okay.
I said, you answered them. All of them obviously has to be yes. Intentionally I did the questions like that. He said, fine, this is okay with us. So tell me if what you are asking for, if it is there, how much it will cost. I said, I don't know. You decide. How will you know our rates? I said, but you don't bother about our rates. You decide about your marketing budget. Whatever you say, exactly like Amul I did.
Hmm.
I left, I came back. I said, within 48 hours of your decision, I'll come back to you. They came back. That we shall spend 11 crore. So it became 5 to 11. So I flew back to Bangalore and I said, see, 11 I'm out of pocket, so you continue. Continue with HT and DNA. I stood up. He said, no, tell me your amount. No. I said, see, you must understand this is the net amount. I cannot tell you the gross amount because the agency has to be given 15%. He said, what is your net amount? I said, 14 crore. You can add 15% and give it. Are you suggesting we go without group M? I said, when did I say that? I'm just asking you to add that 15%. He said, I have to check up with Mr. Birla. I said, okay. I flew back to Bombay. 48 hours, they came back. Mr. Birla said, okay. It was a direct release. Even today it is direct. When I joined Z,
Really? Okay.
they called me, sir, abhi to utha do na. So I went to them and said that why didn't you now release through them? He said, but what's your problem? We are happy with Times of India. I put a person in their office to service properly. Now imagine a 5 crore client became 14 crore. They spend ultimately 18 crore that financial year.
Wonderful.
Today they are nowhere. So Britannia, 0. I went to Vinita Bali, who was the managing director. Again, same situation. Newspaper is expensive. Why you things, TGI, this, that, sab kuch. Vinita was open that way. So I said, I can give you the net rate. 13 crore. So I said, balance part you add and give it to Madison. So, direct release. It's a mystery to them. Another thing I did is innovation. Because an ad is an ad is an ad commodity. We introduced first speaking newspaper.
I remember that. I think there was some.
In fact, the competitors were wondering how come this remained secret. Office may only 3 people knew. The production guy, my director of West and myself. We got the supplier, vendor, did it. And it was a mammoth task because paper was shaking. That's the way you have to print before. You have to stick it. So 72 hours before Bombay Times was printed. There are hajaro innovation we did with Volkswagen.
I remember some of those, yes.
Blue
yes.
newspaper.
Correct.
So innovation is a great way of clutter bursting commoditized communication or parity communication. So these are, I can tell you these are minuscule examples. I can give you thousands of examples of innovation. And this has happened because of the fact that we empowered the team. I always say the new competitive advantage is which organization has maximum market share of empowerment.
I just love a quote from your LinkedIn post, which you said that you are a person you're a leader who sets up the stage for others to perform.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. And this is like
I believed it always. I never say that the principal shareholder asked me, what did you do differently? I said, nothing. But seriously, I said, it would have happened. It would have happened anyway.
So oftentimes leadership can become very
narcissism.
It becomes narcissism. It becomes who takes the credit, who walks away with all the glory. So oftentimes, and the best leaders are the ones who empower others to sort of grow and succeed.
Good leaders, to my mind, create more leaders. They don't create followers. I have always people work with people. People make you successful. I was a hugely people man because I myself suffered in the initial days of my career. So everyone suppressed what you just now mentioned. But I've realized if you unleash the energy of the team, amazing things can happen. So many people left. Company wanted me to recruit. I said, no, I'll recruit at the front end. I lifted people from the bottom. And it was only for reason because I believed if you give uncommon tasks to common people, they can do wonders. And they did, for sure.
True.
And the facilitation that I did is that, say, for instance, when Mirror was launched, this is, sir, we'll need 1 year for IRS to come, then they will give leadership. I said, you must be joking. I said, what is your fear? Agencies will not agree. I said, ठीक है. So I sat one day for 5 hours, created 21 questions and created reply for each one myself.
Okay.
Then that was distributed to every sales member team of the country. I said, if the 22nd question come and tell me.
So it's more like objection, how to handle objections.
And I have taken that test if they are answered, have been understood properly with conviction. So simple thing that, a full page rate in Times of India and full page rate in Mirror, how can it be same? I say, why? Same circulation. The size is different. So 14-inch and 29-inch TV that time it was there. Your ad rates are different.
Okay, so that is a parallel you gave.
So like this. So they said, but there is no proof of people engaging it. So I talked about engagement to you. I said first year, from the first day, I need good companies' sales offer. And I want to know the result with direct response. And I made 1 year case study. So that was the task given to the operating team for Mirror response given. First day, that was McDonald's. I still remember. The sales went up by 25% with that coupon. And it was free space. And now after 1 month, I'm going to charge price because people are getting response. Kodak, this, that, everyone came. And I said, but it is by invitation, so I will not take useless brands. So slowly after 3 months, rates have come up little, 10,000, 5,000, 10,000. It went up. Then slowly.
Gradually the rates started coming up.
Then by that time, where is IRS? By 1 year, they said Mirror is giving tremendous response. It's better than Bombay Times.
So you were able to sort of launch a product without having the circulation numbers sort of certified by an independent body.
No, because there's no ABC. Because we wanted to give it in the same household of Times of India. So I've given the reach. They said people will not read. I said first, if they don't read Mirror, they will not read HT and DNA also. No, the primary pickup, Times of India. So I said I want, and we did it consciously tabloid format or compact format, so that I used common sense that in FMCG products, your soap and your wife's soap will be different. White papers can't be different. So the younger guy used to pick up. My brief to the editor was, who is your competition? I said, Times of India. He said, are you crazy? I said, yes. I said, you fight with them. Okay. I said, you can never fight because they have got a lot more journalists. So pick up 2-3 areas that you will be the best. Cover story. I gave them from London tabloid one story in the front page. It was always unique. Times of India never got that story. You do entertainment and crime. Crime you write like Alistair MacLean.
So a differentiated strategy for Mirror versus the main newspaper. And then that's how
we kept the editorial team. In fact, the principal shareholders told that it should be the same editorial team. I said, no way. I want there should be internal competition. So Mirror was placed in a different place where Times of India people are never allowed entry.
And the sales team was the same or was different teams?
I created a dedicated team.
Oh, dedicated team, okay.
So what has happened is that, and I carried, usually a newspaper's attractiveness comes from appointments and is a proof of your penetration because they're involved appointments. I talk about engagement and classified. Every ad of classified and every ad of appointments were carried in Mirror.
That's fascinating.
But I increased the price of Times of India and transferred this price so that automatically that revenue has come. They said, we don't want Mirror, but you have to take, because who will object to is when it is given complimentary.
Absolutely. So Bhaskar, just moving on, the Times of India, the response team, which is the sales team, and they call response team because it's supposed to generate response for a client. I believe it runs into hundreds of people.
2,000.
2,000 people pan India. You've sort of encountered a lot of salespeople in your career. What do you think makes a good salesperson? Can sales be taught, or is it inborn? What are the things that you've sort of picked up on?
Sales skills are born is very biggest bullshit.
Okay.
Everything can be learned. Point is, as they say, no, it's not the dog in the fight, it's the fight in the dog. So do you have the fire in the belly? Or these days health considerations are not there, fire in the pot belly. So I said that it has to be learned. And I used to lead by example by showing how it has to be done. I used to train people. I used to do role playing. But basic is knowledge. Once you know the product, once you know the customer, confidence comes automatically. Your body language confidence will be there. A lot of people say, no, you have to be fluently speaking. If I tell you I'm from a Bengali medium, I've studied only in Bengali medium, that was my condition. I've never studied in English medium.
Amazing.
And with that, I've gone to Harvard and Wharton and MIT. That's not the question, because I made it up through 99% perspiration. I simulated this thing that how I can enter into the soul of the CMO, understand his pain. So I always used to look outside in and not inside out. So when that happens, you develop confidence. I've shown to people when people say no, how do they say yes? After that, no one could challenge me on that.
So you think almost anybody can be taught? Because a lot of people...
Yes, because people don't have pride even in the sales profession. That I know
Absolutely.
Some of the MBAs that come to me, they said that agencies ultimately after doing MBA you are doing sales. I said, what are they doing? They are also playing with clients' money, no? I said, who said you are saying
I believe sales is a life skill. You are selling your ideas to your friend, your wife, your parents, your boss.
You show me in life which is not sales. You sold it to me that I should come for the podcast. You have to sell to the driver that you have to stay back. You have to sell to your wife, you have to sell to your child. So the question is, everyone is selling, but they feel it's infra-dig. If I am in sales, it must be bad. So I told, like when people said, my shareholder said, why you study so much? Because I've done my double post-graduation, I've done my double PhD, and doing now third PhD. I said, sir, to you I am a salesman, I am not. Because predecessors were not so academically qualified. I said, I don't think I'm a salesman. He said, then who are you? What are you? I said, I'm a storyteller. I'm an insight provocateur, which is knowledge-based insight I create and give it to the client to create cognitive dissonance. I am an anthropologist. He said, doesn't anyone understand? I said, I don't care. I look at my own standard. But I change by depending on who is on the opposite side. I don't want to go and show off the knowledge. But I always spoke like that people used to think I'm from editorial and not from sales. So your confidence comes only from the knowledge that you acquire, not only related, even unrelated. So I can talk on international relations, political science. That was my subject in the graduation. Then I did my management. Then I did my PhD in the area of social media and digital medium. So that's it. So I'm continuously created, and I've been teaching for the last 38 years as a visiting faculty. So what has happened? I'm in sync with the new generation. I'm in sync with what is now happening to the world. So you develop certain level of, otherwise a certain level of confidence in communicating. And when you go for sales, you're going to start straight with I have come here for this, give me this ad. No,
absolutely. Because oftentimes
I always used to meet clients, maximum, and clients at the CEO level.
So Bhaskar, great sort of this conversation is sort of leading into a lot of areas where both things are coming out clearly. One thing is about motivation. Now, when you lead a large sales team, the rank and file has to be sort of motivated or energized. Oftentimes, you see people not. The leader may be motivated because his bonus or his care is tied to that, but down the line, I see people are not motivated. They sort of don't believe in the vision. How do you sort of make sure the vision of the leader is translated down the line? Everybody's energized. Can you give us some specific examples or your thoughts on that?
I know I'll shock you, but I don't believe in motivation.
Really?
Because if I have to motivate you, you lose your independence. Because what is motivation? Linked to a promotion, linked to an
Financial output?
incentive, this, that, whatever. See, beyond a point, someone else can give bigger one so you can leave the company. So motivation, or like, dolphins, they are given fish, they come up, do something and again go back in Singapore, for instance. What is more important is volition, which is motivation is outside in, volition is inside out. Fundamentally, it has to be your own volition to excel. I agree, money is important, I'm not denying it. And I must say that I have never been influenced by that, otherwise I wouldn't have stayed in 33 years in a company, because the career concept have changed, everyone wants money. And I'm not denying that there are exploitation cases from the company's point of view also, it happens. But if you excel, market needs good worker, you will get acknowledged or recognized. So that is my first point. Second point is, as a leader, what I used to do, just talk to people, communicate and communicate. The more time you spend with down the line, because I always say snow melts at the periphery, but bosses make plans in the corporate boardroom where snow melts the last. So it's very, very important that I used to spend a lot of time with the frontline people. They used to get very motivated, excited. So I'm not dependent on only the, only the top bosses. So that managing by walking around and leading by example. So that is the non-financial part of the motivation. That I used to do a lot, because financial, beyond a point, I don't have anything beyond recommendatory power. And, if you ask me honestly, people look at non-financial a lot. Training programs.
Very true.
Send them to training programs. I used to take every Saturday classes and all that. So there was all these things, because I have suffered myself when no one used to train. I have trained myself whole life. And I used to share whatever I learn, I share it with them. Now it depends on the colleagues, how do they absorb. But that's it. So motivation is like a, if I may say, like a chimera, or for that matter, like a will-o'-the-wisp, as they say. So you will give this year, another colleague of yours gets little more increment, then you get upset. Sir, is there a message for me?
True.
You give 20,000 rupees, still they are saying that there is a message. So the question is that motivation beyond a point is a zero-sum game. It is ultimately your own skill, your own excitement to excel that matters. If you think you're a salesman, so suffer from inferiority complex, then of course no one can motivate you.
Coming to negotiation is a big part of the sales or revenue function, because what is your general philosophy for negotiation, and how do you sort of tell it to your team? Because when you negotiate, you're negotiating on behalf of an organization, not individual negotiation. So generally, what is your take on negotiation? Because oftentimes it becomes I win, you lose. How do you create a equilibrium, a balance over there?
See, if you ask me honestly, there are reams of books on negotiation. Some people say it's science, some people say it's art. My personal experience, of course, I've noticed that is, the people pay price, but they buy value. Does anyone understand what value you are delivering? Companies do not always equip your sales team. And value is about data, content, context. If you know the value and you are confident through empirical evidences that it actually delivers, otherwise if you look at it, there is no performance guarantee. Even in case of a newspaper that I worked for long, I cannot guarantee next ad can give, the same ad can give five different insertions, can give 5 different responses. But over a period of time, you have developed a confidence, it will give response. One of the reasons DNA or HT suffered in Bombay market, they are not giving response. They are desperate to get numbers. But if people are not getting engaged, what will you do? Because of the characteristic of the medium and the characteristic of the consumer. So it is very important that if the value proposition is understood and not giving as a fiat that no, we are the largest circulated paper, that's no one is bothered. They're bothered that am I getting response. So this is true for any product category. Will it make me fair and lovely, or now fair and glow, whatever? If it doesn't make me fair, it is not going to work. Or Johnson and Johnson, you look at it, people have been using, they've got great corporate values, but then suddenly Johnson baby powder causing cancer. So your value propositions have to be, even if it's intangible, has to be expressed tangibly, to be supported or corroborated by empirical experience of the buyer. So when you buy a Colgate, you don't feel you are getting shortchanged, or for that matter, when you're buying a Samsung or you're buying a Mercedes.
So it's all about communicating the value creation
That's
to
it.
the opposite party.
It's not about, so negotiation, most of the cases, and especially when you go to the agencies, you become like, I would say, price hagglers.
Absolutely.
So price is a zero-sum game. Actually, it's a bottomless pit. You can go no anywhere. So those who are followers in the market, they will come with lower price. So market leader is under pressure. But that means you have no confidence in the value you are delivering. So value delivery also gets changed over a period of time. So what Kodak used to deliver value, things have changed. So I have a feeling that it's a dynamic situation. It's not static something that I've learned something about value of a particular brand. So you have to continuously equip your sales team towards the value proposition. That is not negotiation. We are very firm that this is what we deliver. Price is an art, of course, depending on client's ability to pay, and of course the market competitive position. I told you market competitive position and market attractiveness. In that market, what is the competitive situation? Google can get away with a lot of pricing, but their whole thing is on an algorithm. So one will question it because it's on the basis of that just till you get response, because you have infinite inventory, unlike a typical newspaper or radio for that matter.
Absolutely.
And for television, there is regulatory constraint that you cannot do half an hour more than 8 minutes, suppose, ad. So those are the challenges are there.
So one quick question is coming back to the topic of sales teams and all, what kind of person will you not hire?
Basic thing, I hope someone will be able to communicate. I've never seen anyone will hiring different desire to learn, openness to learn, commitment, passion, value for words, because a lot of sales team members I've seen, they give false assurance to the client just for short-term gain. Presentability is very important, that you are carrying the image of the company, not your personal image. So if you are not attired appropriately, or your demeanor is arrogant, it doesn't work. You can't be over smart, and by any stretch of imagination, I don't look to a very smart person. But I've seen ultimately commitment, passion makes a lot of difference. I've got many examples where I have won only by my passion and commitment and sincerity. Everyone knew in the market, if you say something to Bhaskar, he would never disappoint you. That's very important.
True. So using the integrity, it's an overall package.
Yes.
That's important, and that is what you would look for.
So it's not either or.
Either
it's
or.
More and.
It's more and. Got you. Now coming back to the question of career planning. Oftentimes, a 25-year-old first job out of B school, nobody does career planning at 25. People sort of have 8-10 years of career, and then they realize, hey, listen, my career is not going the way I thought it would. I thought at 30 I would be here, and some of those goals. What advice would you give to a 25-year-old person who's just embarking on a first or second job? What are the things they should keep in mind? Because the world is changing dynamically. So what are the things that you would advise a 25-year-old person?
See, first of all, though, I can't advise them. I learned from them. That's number one. Second is that it's a different world, as you said. It's a never before world. I remember that I could continue for 33 years because it was a stable environment. It was normal. Now it's a never normal situation. Career concepts have changed. No one continues for 33 years. Every few years you get bored. But more importantly, a person like Elon Musk can come and sack 90% of India's staff. Justifiably from his point of view. Overnight they were out. tech companies are doing so. So there is nothing called job security anymore. It was not there in our time also, but it was not like this. Byju's suddenly have asked so many people to go, and so many, you can see so many so-called unicorns are sacking people left, right, center, but it's not, obviously, if they can't perform, what can they do? The market is a great arbiter. So I feel the challenges for the young people are very high now. Apart from social pressure, cultural pressure, family pressure. Companies get disrupted, employees suffer. To my mind, something I've been doing it instinctively. I followed 2-3 career tracks parallelly from the beginning so that I can pivot anytime.
What do you mean 2-3 career tracks? You had a main job, right?
You have I started as a salesman, then I became profit center head, then I became functional head. No, this is not track. This is the same track I'm working. My job content changed, but that is not enough. I'm in the same job.
The roles changed. The roles kept changing.
CEO role, so everything I understood. I expanded the definition of the job, but it's still in the same job. I'm saying the parallel track is I was teaching.
Okay.
I was studying so that in teaching job I can excel. So technically there are two tracks. And now the current track where I am mentoring startups, where I am into business strategy. So I was previously a print man. I was focusing on strategy and brand building and everything. Then I went to a media man. When in Z, I was involved in both television as well as internet. Then now I'm doing business strategy. Okay. Holistically I'm looking at. I've looked at holistically even in Times of India. I used to sit with the finance director to fix my revenue target because that was 90% of the company's profit and revenue. So I did it instinctively without knowing that current situation is like this. So it is quite possible. I've seen an engineer becoming a Zomato supplier, Zomato delivery person.
Wow.
Different jobs they are doing. So is Uber driver. So I have a feeling every young person should have not necessarily related. It should be unrelated also. You can excel in your job, but develop interest into 2-3 other areas where if this stop, I can go there for 2 reasons. The segment might be relevant. Suppose ChatGPT comes. With ChatGPT, I can think any mediocre person future is over.
Absolutely, yes.
Because ChatGPT can do a fantastic job. You cannot compete with a computer.
Absolutely.
But they still cannot create anything. ChatGPT will pick up something. Noam Chomsky mentioned it as a great plagiarism device, okay, or a software. But people can debate on that. That it's still going back into past, collecting data and giving it to you so that no one can catch you for plagiarism. But creative, you should not try to compete with ChatGPT, and that is going to change the world. Is 1 year I have seen the change, which people are not understanding. That if ChatGPT can replace any job that is repeated, mediocre, if programmatic can give a media solution when actually you don't need a salesperson.
So if I were to sort of summarize what you're saying.
Just one point I just want to finish. And so one job can go away. See, they're not substituting anything. That replaces a new skill. So you might require more and more people who understand data algorithm and not necessarily brand building, not necessarily an MBA. So it is very important for today's young persons to develop these 2-3 parallel careers. Second is never stop learning. Because remember, today's knowledge is tomorrow's ignorance. It is very, very important. Continuously learn. Even at my age, after 42 years, I'm doing PhDs, not that I have a fetish for it. I'm doing it on Gen Z consumers to understand the consumer behavior. Because type of questions while I teach has changed, and from there I got the idea. And after this, I might be learning something on Photoshop. I might be learning something interesting that is required Not necessarily no one is going to give me a job for Photoshop. But learning new things keep your brain active, and I may not be an Uber driver, but point is, I know that I have to develop new skills also.
So in today's world, it's important to be, if I were to summarize, is be multifaceted.
Multi-skilled.
Multi-skilled, multifaceted. You've got to have a bunch of skills that you can deploy as per the situation.
So while you develop excellence in your current field, which you have to do it anyway, that field is also changing, but parallel tracks for pivoting.
Got it. So Bhaskar, as we wrap it up, just one question that is there. Will salespeople as a species be relevant, 15, 20 years down the line, given the level of automation, given the level of AI that's happening? Tomorrow you have an AI who could sell on behalf of a company. What is the future for sales as a profession or revenue generation as a profession? Your thoughts on that?
See, 20 years is too long. I can't see beyond even 1 week because that's the companies which are making budgetary plans for once a week. So I can't comment, but I know that it is not about sales function. Every company, every business has to have a monetization route. If monetization is a skill, which is a function of your cognitive ability, which is a function of your ability to innovate, a variety of ways to monetize, value of a salesperson will always be there. But it is increasingly becoming knowledge-based. And it has already become, come to think of it, knowledge-based, customer-focused, and which is customer centricity, and quality of service. Ability to think complementary, because it's not a unidimensional world, it's a multidimensional world. And knowledge cannot substitute for anything else. And knowledge is always is not a static state. So I am an MBA, so I don't have to learn anymore, is out. To my mind, every 18 months, your knowledge gets outdated. Which means every 18 months, you have to reskill, upskill yourself to the new world order. When you don't do it, you become a Kodak, you become a Nokia. So everyone, you become an IBM. So they're changing their path. Okay, Microsoft suffered little. After that, they picked up. So you will be on a kind of, I would say, roller skating ride, okay, or a treadmill, because it is so volatile. There's something called, and this is my final comment, I would say, business space is continuously inundated by black swans. COVID is an example of black swan. It is Nicholas Taleb talked about it. There is also grey rhinos. You see that war is going on. You see that AI has come. So you see actually what is happening, but you don't take enough action. Like people have no clue what AI can do or not. There are huge confusion going on. I mean, I'm in the academic world. People are cheating. Harvard, one guy, a senior young lady in the faculty, for plagiarism by using AI. So the question is that technology will continue to accelerate changes, and our job is to see that instead of competing with that, can we do higher level things? Human ingenuity will always be ahead, and that's why I mentioned once that mediocrity or mediocre people's future is very bleak. And when you do these parallel tracks of career, you will not be mediocre. This requires personal sacrifice, to continuously forget what you know. There's no pride in telling I've got 20 years experience. Who is bothered? So experience is learning disability. So you need to continuously relearn new things and forget the past and move on. Ignorance will be your biggest asset. Then only you'll be curious to know. And that's what I feel. There's no use thinking about AI will come and replace me.
Got you.
It will.
Yeah. So as long as the human ingenuity is greater than the technology changes, we'll always sort of be on top of the curve. But a large majority will get...
don't forget, AI has been also done by human beings only.
Yeah, very true.
So the next level of progress also will be done by human beings. So you have to think ahead as opposed to thinking about what will happen to us.
Correct. Well, Bhaskar, that wraps it up. Thank you for being on the
Thanks
podcast.
to you for having me
It
here.
was a wonderful conversation,
Really.
and I hope a lot of people sort of take away nuggets of information and wisdom from you. Again, thanks for
Thank you
being
very
here.
much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.